Welcome to Wayfinder. This walkthrough is going to show you how to utilize the platform so you can get the most out of your experience. So let's get started. So if you've created an account, the very first account you create is a tenant administrator. This means that you have full control over your tenant. You're able to add accounts, you're able to create courses, you're able to grab reports on everything that you need. And we're going to walk you through all these different features. In this case, we're going to use Jenny Holyoke. She's a temporary account that I've created, and we're going to show you how this works. So first and foremost, Wayfinder creates learning paths or courses. So you can grab a role title or role description, such as from your job listings, and then you can add various job task analysis and knowledge resources. So these job task analysis and knowledge resources can either be uploaded as PDFs, docs, Excel spreadsheets, markdowns, whatever common files you're going to use to create those types of files, or in the case of a lot of your job roles and whatnot, you're going to have a lot of documentation for that particular role, either sitting in a Confluence or Notion or something like that type platform. You can utilize all of those. And I'm going to give you an example. So here I've posted in a customer education senior manager. This is a job description that I grabbed right off of LinkedIn. So you've got your job description, you've got your primary job responsibilities, you've got the customer onboarding program definition, all that fun stuff. Then down here I have reference material. So this is for this particular organization. They've got a development guide framework that I'm going to utilize, and that's what we're going to use for our reference material. And then we've got some additional features here that we can add, like AI assistant instructions. So one of the benefits of utilizing Wayfinder is that not only do you build learning paths for your individual, but you also create a AI assistant context file that you can use for the AI that's going to be assisting this individual in their job. So you get the benefit of both, right? You're training your AI as well as training your individual. Okay, so I can add additional features here if I want and totally work with that. I can also add some adaptive work styles in here. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but you can also set this up in the preference context, which is probably the best place to do it. So let's go ahead and generate a learning path. So as this is generating, I can choose to make this internal. I can make this a customer-facing learning path, or I can make this a partner-facing learning path. And as it generates, it goes through course outlines and it analyzes the validity of those course outlines. And as long as it gives it a better score, then it's good to go. Okay, so now we're done. Now we can go to our studio. Okay, so this is the course studio. So the course studio is where you would go in and create your courses. You can edit them, you can manage them. As your role generates the individual courses, they're going to show up here. And it starts with the first course that is created within the role. You can go in and edit that while it creates all the other courses, because it does take about 20 minutes or so to do a full 7 courses within a single role. Okay, so some of the features that you have here, it does have auto save. So as you make changes, it'll automatically save them for you. You can regenerate the course if you're not happy with the way the course was generated, and you can see kind of how things laid out with course creation here, what the threshold is, and then what the passing score is. Okay, you can regenerate the final quiz, or you can regenerate the entire path generation. If you're not happy with the learning path, and this is actually pretty common when you grab stuff directly from like LinkedIn or any kind of description there, because it's not going to have the detail that you would normally have in a full task analysis. If you added a full task analysis, then you'd have a much higher score, and this would generate a much more accurate learning path. So just throwing that out there. Okay, so the role ID and the course ID, those are references for you so that you can utilize your AI agent, whether it's Claude Code, Codex, maybe you have an OpenClaw or Hermes installed. You can utilize these and your MCP connections. We'll talk about those in a minute, and go through and edit a course directly. You can create courses and paths. You can edit them. You can update them. You can collaborate through MCP. You can have your engineers connect and have their AI agents run through the content and verify that everything is technically accurate. All that's very possible utilizing MCP. And you would do that and analyze it based off of your course ID or overall the role ID. And that's how your MCP connection, the MCP tools are able to identify it. Okay. You can also export into various forms. So if you're happy with the course and how it looks, you can export it as an XAPI or SCORM file, and it works really, really well. Let's say you want to export it and really touch it up and make it really look professional. You can export it into a .story form and then import it into Articulate and then make some edits. You can also export it as a PPTX or as a PDF if you want to export it as an ebook. Okay, so I'm going to add a header URL here. Okay, so I just click, you can drag and drop over here. I just clicked and added it. So this is an AI generated image that'll show up in the LMS. Okay, so the way it breaks it down, it first starts with your AI assistant knowledge pack. And this is path level. So this is for the entire path. And what it does is it identifies the configurations and the details that an AI would use to support someone in this particular role. So it says here you're going to act as an AI coworker for the senior manager. You're going to optimize speed, um, faculty, and safe escalation. And then here are the tasks that you can automate. And here are the tasks that require human approval. These are the collaboration rules that you'd have for this particular role. And then your decision boundaries, like what's required, and then your standard procedures. All this can be manipulated either through documentation or attachments, or just adding it to the prompt in the creation form, but you can also edit it here. You can make changes. You can make this more accurate for this individual. But the idea is that you want to create a tool with your AI agent that is supportive of this particular role. And that's what this does for you. Okay, so the rest of it, we've got the course title, description, the objectives, all are separated by a new line tag. And yes, this does it's not WYSIWYG. It's designed that way on purpose. You want to be able to go in and edit it utilizing your MCP connection and your AI agent, and this makes it more AI agent friendly. You do have WYSIWYG controls here with the section title. This is your individual sections. These are each of the modules within the course. That gives you the context, learning objectives, key topics you're going to grab out of here. And all of this you can edit and manipulate and do everything you need to do. This is an example of an accordion. So you've got drop downs. This is a topic, and then the drop down is after a double colon, and then it's the content, and then a new line is a new drop down in that accordion. So it's really easy to add additional. Here are your tabs. This is separated by Again, you've got the new line here, and you've got a list that's built in there to create that. That's all HTML. And then your scenario prompt. This is within this particular scenario, this is what you want to think about and work through and utilize. And then you've got the answer for that scenario, and then quizzes. Quizzes are all one per line, so they're separated by a new line, and it starts at 0. So the first question is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you've got multiple options there, and then your answer index is right here. Okay, very basic quiz, but the idea is that this gives you something basic to start with, and then you can manipulate it beyond there. And if you really want to get into really fancy quizzes and region clicks and all that fun stuff, you can do that by exporting it into a story form and importing it into Articulate. And we start with the new section. So that gives you an idea of what it looks like. When you're happy with that, you can always approve and publish. That publishes it to the LMS. But as an editor or as a tenant admin, you're able to go straight to the LMS and you can view the course and register and then walk through it. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, a couple things I forgot to mention. In each section, you have multiple blocks. When you add a block, that's a text block. You can add a quiz, a scenario. You can add presentation submission, image, video, audio, tabs, accordion. You can even add flip cards in there. That's all available as different card types or different block types. Okay? And again, you can add all of that also utilizing AI. It's the whole point is that you're able to use your AI to make and edit changes. Okay, once you're happy with it, you're good to go. Then we can go to the LMS and take a look at it and see what it looks like as it runs. So this is going to be your preview. Notice I have not approved and published. So here's the customer education senior manager. This particular role, right at the top, you see in the LMS, you have different views. So you've got your view, and you can see what it looks like for all of your employees. So you can, as a tenant admin, you're going to have that access. And then for current paths and courses, you can collapse that down on the path. And then here we've got the path. You can register the entire path if you'd like. So here we've got the customer education manager has been selected. I can register the entire path, or I can go into individual courses and I can register that particular course. There's my header image. I can register for that course, and then I can start the course. So here I've got the view. This gives me my lecture. Any other blocks that were added are going to show up down below. So here is my drop down. Here are my tabs. This is the scenario. And then there's my quiz. I can submit my answer. Tells me I'm correct. And then here's the new text that I had added. And then here's what a flip card would look like. And I can go on to the next modules and everything. So there you get a feel for what it looks like when the LMS is working, or when you've got the course populated and everything. Okay. So that's the LMS. Now, if you go back to the LMS itself, you can see that you have options here for any published exams and if there's any custom training for this particular module. So you can add SCORM files, instructor-led courses, and all that fun stuff. Under operations, here is where you would set up your training operations. So this is where you can add your SCORM uploads, your SCORM files. If you want to have an instructor-led course, you can give it the name of the course, the description, the header URL. For the image, you can drag and drop here as well. And then, what's the format? Is it going to be remote? Is it going to be in person? Is it going to be hybrid? And then you got your description, and then your audience, internal, customer, or partner. And then you can select it for individual learning paths, or you can add it for all learning paths. So it's going to be available for any learning path that's being published in your LMS. So select learning paths, let you go through and select an individual learning path, and it would apply to that particular path. Okay. Schedule lets you schedule your instructor-led course. This creates it. This lets you schedule when it's going to happen, where it's going to be. All the details are right there. And then how many seats are available, right? And then for your instructor skills, this lets you identify a specific instructor. And this is somebody that in the accounts, we'll go to the account section and we'll show you that. But someone in the account section that has been assigned as an instructor, you can select that instructor and add them to this particular course as one that's available to teach that particular course. And that way, when you schedule and you select the instructor, it'll show up in the dropdown. Otherwise, it'll show TBD. Okay, so that's uploading SCORM files, creating instructor-led courses, and then scheduling those courses. The roles that can do this are your tenant admin, of course, and then your operations specialist. We'll show you that. Okay, all right. So if you want to see how well people are doing, either individuals and whatnot, then you can go to your reports. So reports give you lots of different sections, and they're all tabbed. And this is going to be specifically to your tenant. So this will be, in this case, it's Cloud Bytes because that's Jenny's tenant, that's her company, but this would be for your particular tenant. So the usage, I'll let you know how many courses, how many paths have been created, how many courses have been created. Context lets you know how many portfolios have been created, templates, agents, what the effective plan is, and how many are available for that. It's going to be vary per level. Okay. Adaptive work styles, who are utilizing these. We'll talk about those in a minute. And you can download the report on the adaptive work styles so you know. Support, this is where you can, as you add feedback, that'll show up here. But any support questions that you have will show up here. That goes back to me and my team, and then we will answer your questions, take care of all the issues, and then you'll see the response in the status. So it'll let you know kind of where it is, what the status is, and then any notes that are going to show up in there. We'll let you know what that looks like. Okay. And then enablement. This is for your direct reports. So anybody on your team, for managers. If managers are in there for your internal employees, you're able to see who is taking their courses, who's completed them, who hasn't completed them, what their overall progress is, and any overdue as you assign them and assign dates. Okay, and that's reporting. Okay, so the guides. This is your documentation. It gives you overall views. I'm zoomed in here, so it's kind of all kind of compressed, but this gives you an idea of kind of how everything works. You know what you're going to be utilizing, what tools are available, how to use those tools, and how they work. So this gives you a quick overview, and you've got all the what's new stuff that's been added. Okay, now let's talk about accounts. As a tenant admin, you're able to add additional accounts. And when you add your account, you can add it two ways. Either someone can go and just register for an account, in which case they show up as an unapproved account. And then as a tenant admin, you need to approve them. Why do we do that? Well, anyone can register for any company. And if you register for a company that's not yours, obviously you want to have control over who accesses that. And that's what this does. Okay. So you're able to add a name, username, you can put in their email address, job title, password, confirm password. That's really all the personal information that we're going to gather. The company, this identifies it with your particular tenant, and then the audience type. So this is going to be internal, customer, or partner. Now, all of this can be updated again through MCP. You can connect, you can have your agent make these updates, or you can connect other agents or other services to this utilizing an MCP connection. And we'll show you where that happens in a minute. But you have internal, customer, or partner, so you can identify that. You've got your MFA type, there's none or email. As when you set this up with creating an account here, it'll do an email MFA, which means it sends them a code and they enter that in. Otherwise, if they create it themselves or if they go in and change it, they can change it to a passkey, and that way they can use their biometric, either face recognition or eyeball recognition or fingerprint recognition or whatever they're using. They can use their passkey in order to protect their connection, their access. Okay, the role, we have 5 different roles. You've got your tenant admin. This is the one that has all access for your entire tenant. Controls, you can add, remove accounts. You can manage all that stuff. Editor, which allows you to edit courses and exams, view them in the LMS, um, and manage that. Instructor, which is you can see which courses are available, and then as the instructor, you can go in and you can mark completion on courses, like particularly in-person courses or stuff like that. But you can mark your completion and add grades if you want to do grades. Learner is just your standard user is going to be a learner, and all they have access to is the LMS and their own personal account setup, which we'll show you in a minute. Manager, they have access to the LMS and reports, and the reports will show them who is completing their courses. And then coordinator. The coordinator is able to go into the LMS and they're able to create in-person courses. They can and manage registration. Okay. Now you can have a single role, but then you can have additional roles. So if you have someone that's let's say a tenant admin, but is also going to be a manager, you can mark manager, and then they're able to see all their direct reports, and then you can then apply, you can then assign them as a manager to somebody. You can set someone up as also an instructor, and then they can show up as the instructor list and whatnot. All that's available there. Okay. And then once you've created an account, you can go in and edit them. Easily add. Here's an editor, so obviously the editor's already marked off. You can also give them instructor, learner, manager, or coordinator roles. Okay, based off of their primary role. And that's Chucky. Okay, so that's accounts. All right, so let's say you want to utilize the context tool. This is going to show up in your personal account. Okay, so let's talk about personal settings. First off, this lets you know what your context plan usage is. This particular account I've set up to be a fleet because it's a test account, and so I can go in and create lots of different courses and make sure they're all working properly. Here you can set up your personal preferences, name, email address, uh, account number, change your password. You can also set your MFA method. This one's set up as a passkey, which is what I would recommend. It's probably the most secure option that I provide. But you do have the option of email as well. I try to keep things pretty simple. And then you can also add a passkey later on. Okay, so next you have your personal MCP access. This is where you would set up your tokens to an individual um, account. So they were able to go in and play around with it and stuff. You're never ever going to be able to preview this outside of the initial creation, but this gives you the hosted MCP endpoint, and you can create a token label for this. You can assign a particular portfolio. I don't have any portfolios created for this, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And an agent portfolio will be created for this particular token. So what that means is that the portfolio is going to be a collection of personal, corporate, and role-based contexts that you are then going to provide for your agent to utilize. And the role base is going to be coming from any assigned roles that are going to be there for a particular role, particular job. But you can also add additional ones, and I'll show you where to do that in just a minute. It's in the context section. And then the agent is this particular agent is going to be utilizing this particular, persona, and that's how you're going to set it up, right? So once you've got those selected, it will then upload it, and that's what will happen. And that allows your personal MCP access will allow both editing, all the course related construction and editing and collaboration, but it also allows access to the context field. Now, if a general user would just set up personal MCP access, it only sets up access to the context. They're not going to have access to edit courses or anything like that. So that is all secured based on the server itself and the particular role that they're using. Okay, so the context field, this lets you know what your context plan is. We don't have any portfolios here, but here you're able to create a new portfolio. You give it a portfolio label and a description. So portfolios are going to be that collection of executive level, I say executive, like enterprise level. This is how our company works. These are our values. These are what we expect of our employees and expect of all of our agents, what they're going to be doing, how you're expected to behave and communicate and all that fun stuff. Um, so the portfolio in general is going to be a collection of your executive context, a collection of your. So the portfolio is a collection of um, your enterprise context, which is at this particular company, like at Cloud Bytes, we treat people as family. We make sure that we're kind, we're generous, we're always there to support them, make sure that they are doing what they need to do. We want them to be partners with us for a long time. We have high ethical standards, and these are the high ethical standards that we provide. Basically, it's everything that you would provide as a company, as an organization, to your employees that say, this is how you conduct business as a part of this company. This is the expectations that we have of everyone. So that's going to be your active context portfolio. Your enterprise level stuff, right? And then, and you can drag and drop files up there and upload them, and that's going to be your general stuff. The agent is going to be a specific agent's name. This is what it's going to look like. This is what we want this particular agent to work. I like naming my agents. You don't have to, but I like naming them so they have individual personalities and whatnot. And this gives you general like onboarding hints, and self-test hints and stuff like that for them to utilize. And you can set it up as the default agent for a particular portfolio. So that's how how they would perform that particular portfolio. So this gives you the quick agent brief. There are some default stuff that gives you an idea of kind of what it looks like. Um, this gets expanded as the portfolio starts expanding. So as you add more to it, this is the markdown file that's provided to your agent as a context overlay. And then you're able to add your personal context overlay. So right now, this is something that you would craft and then upload. I am working on like a questionnaire type. This is how you build a personal context overlay, so that we can so you can go through and build your own and kind of understand how you work as an individual. This is where you'd add that, and this allows the agent to better understand who you are and how you work and what are the ground rules in working with you personally. This is kept separate than the corporate context. And the reason why I do that is because your personal preferences for working is not going to change when your role changes. So your role change will change the portfolio that you're using, but your personal context does not change. So if you get a promotion, now you have new expectations. Your AI is going to be working differently for you, but it still has to interact with you in roughly the same way. So you want to keep that personal, and that's what that does. Okay, adaptive work styles. Adaptive work styles are meant to help people better articulate how AI can work with them in various given scenarios. Now, there are use pack defaults, so you can have be very concise. I want you to be step by step. I want you to have give me choices. Just give me a calm summary of how things are doing. Like that'll set up different packs. Then you've got your default planning, which is I need one next step, and then I do the next step. Don't give me a lot of lists. Just give me one thing so I don't get overwhelmed. I have a checklist. Give me the checklist. Let's go through the checklist. We'll work through that. I need a timeline of how it's going to work, how it's going to move through, and you group it by effort. Like this is how much I can do in this particular run, and so on and so forth. So that helps you plan how you're going to be utilizing this. This is used primarily to help folks who are neurodiverse and have very specific neurodiverse requirements in how they work. And this allows the AI to inherently support those who are neurodivergent. Okay. Does that mean that only neurodivergent people can use it? Absolutely not. Anybody can utilize these tools. That's the nice thing about providing accommodation for folks with disabilities and folks with conditions, is that it benefits everybody, and so that allows you to benefit everybody. So you can utilize those. You can save those styles, and it'll help. This gives you some examples of what that looks like, whether it's helpful or not helpful. Okay, you've got your generated role memberships. So you can see because I've registered for two different roles, I have two different roles showing up there. So that'll show up there. And you've got your historical identity and stuff that's helpful there if you utilize that. So I haven't connected this particular account and this particular template um, to anyone. And this is where you can create individual templates that you individuals can then use to better understand kind of what they're doing. This will be replaced also by a questionnaire that's going to be more corporate level based. Like what does it look like to be a corporate level um, AI? Like what does the AI expect to do? And this is something that you'll be able to set up as a tenant admin for your company and then manage that. All right. And that is context. That is probably the biggest piece that I have in most implementations of AI agents. People struggle with utilizing them because your AI agent doesn't have enough context. So it becomes essentially just a really expensive chatbot. Providing context allows the AI agent to become more proactive in its work. All right. And that is Wayfinder.